North Korean leader Kim Jong Un is threatening to revamp his nuclear weapons program. He demanded the U.S. lift harsh economic sanctions in a New Year's Day speech.
But Mr. Kim also said he's ready for another summit with President Trump. His comments come as denuclearization talks between Washington and Pyongyang seem to have stalled. For more on this, let's bring in CBSN contributor Isaac Stonefish. He's also a senior fellow at the Asia Society Center on U.S.-China relations. Isaac, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What did you make of this speech?
I thought Kim did a good job of both playing to his base, the North Korean people, 100% of them who support him, of course.
Good ratings?
Good ratings, yeah. By talking, most of the speech was about the economy and about trying to prioritize the North Korean economic situation. But he also did send messages to the United States and South Korea. South Korea was more of an olive branch about wanting to work together. For the United States, it was more, if you guys don't make concessions, we're not going to make concessions.
Well, if we don't lift sanctions, will he again start testing ballistic missiles? And also, what do you make of this suit? Is there a political message in his ensemble there?
So I did like the bar mitzvah boy suit. I thought it was very professional. I think he was trying to communicate that, yes, North Korea has this impression globally of being a very weird place, but he knows how to play it like the international banker finance outfit that he was wearing. I think in terms of the specific issue of sanctions with the United States, I think what Kim Jong Un wants is more of a outreach, more of an olive branch, more from the U.S. before he makes concessions. And North Korea has always been excellent at playing really well with the very meager hand that it's dealt, and I think this speech is another example of that.
We have, surprisingly, you might almost say miraculously, a North Korean leader and an American leader. There they are, they're smiling, they're waving, they're saying, come on, stick with us, we're going to make this work. And yet people who follow this closely say, we're never going to get there because what North Korea wants and what we're willing to give are just too far apart. Can you explain that as it applies to denuclearization?
So I think if we don't want denuclearization, if we say, okay, we are comfortable with a nuclear North Korea.
But we're not, are we?
We say we're not.
Okay, let me stick with your hypothetical. Okay,
yes.
If we are.
If we, even though we say we're not, if we are, then what Trump did in 2018 was fantastic. Reduced tensions from a very high place, met with a North Korean leader, and North Korea is now much less of a pressing threat. Now, if we actually think we want denuclearization of North Korea, we are probably further away from that than at any point we've ever been, possibly in history.
Why not? He says he's willing to do it. Why won't we give him what he wants? What does he want, and why won't we give it to him?
He's saying he wants denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And that means to North Koreans something very, very different from what it might mean to you and us, to you and I. What he means is no nuclear umbrella over South Korea, no U.S., a lot less U.S. troops, maybe no U.S. troops in South Korea, and the U.S. not working with South Korea to defend it in the case of a North Korean attack. What we want him to mean is, okay, no nuclear weapons in South Korea. There aren't any nuclear weapons in South Korea, and therefore no nuclear weapons in North Korea. But that seems basically impossible. So I think we have to decide. I think we are in this sort of cognitive dissonance state where we're allowing this idea of, oh, we are going to denuclearize, but it's not going to happen.
All right, we also want to talk to you about trade negotiations, we call it a trade war, between the U.S. and China. The president has taken a hardline approach with Beijing. What do you expect in 2019? Because this has ramifications not just for American markets, for everything, for criminal justice, extradition, international relationships. Do you think that tensions will continue to escalate?
It is a massive story. And I do think that, while it's very difficult to predict, I think it is more likely that the U.S. and China will resolve at least some of their differences. I think this will be similar to North Korea in that I think Trump will claim this great breakthrough whereby very little actually happens, but Trump takes credit for a massive restructuring of trade, and both leaders can say, okay, we solved it, and we can move on.
Is there pressure on China? How much is this hurting them?
So I think where this is hurting China economically is less in the actual numbers and statistics, and Chinese statistics on the economy are generally pretty terrible anyway, and more on the perception of confidence and Xi Jinping's ability to do what he says. He has this sort of invincible aura, or at least he had this sort of invincible aura, and his inability to resolve this hurts him on that and hurts the economy on that, as opposed to actually really hitting in on the numbers sense.
It will be interesting to see, especially if we can reach some kind of deal or resolution, how that impacts, of course, the pending extradition of the Huawei executive and so many other things going on in Washington.
Certainly.
Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Help
you.
us make sense of the crazy world.